Drink beer, it's good for you.
Hello and welcome to the video. In this video I'll be giving the Trappist single my full guide treatment. This beer style actually has many different names. It is also known as monk's beer, pater's beer, which basically means father's beer, as well as the Belgian single. Unlike many of the Belgian beers, this one can be session strength, if you like. In my usual beer style guide order, I will begin with the history before moving on to the BJCP notes for competition, before sharing a recipe writing guide, and then one of my own tried and tested recipes to this style, along with some recent brew day footage, and then finishing up with a look at the end beer and tasting notes. So let's get started with a little history. It is known that as early as the 5th century that monasteries in Europe were brewing their own beer, with over 600 keeping records of this. At this time, beer was the beverage of choice, as it was much safer than simply drinking water. Beer was consumed by men, women and children alike. Before this point, beer brewing was one of the many responsibilities that a wife had within the family. These beers were simply thrown together using whatever ingredients could be found rather than using recipes. Not much was actually understood about the process, and much of the beer that was made was actually spoiled according to records. Once the monks got involved, things certainly took a different direction. They became innovators and scholars of the art of beer brewing and kept meticulous records of proven recipes, practices and ingredients. They also mastered the art of mass production, as selling much of this end beer was the end goal, and they used it as one of the several methods of becoming completely self-sufficient. There is much that we as brewers owe to these early monks. The particular beer we are focused on today is one that they would brew for themselves and also for visitors. This was seldom for sale during these early times, and frankly this style often gets overshadowed by the stronger Belgian beers like the double, triple, quad, blonde and brown in contemporary times. This is a great pity because this style actually offers much of the fantastic flavours of regular Belgian beer, but without the strength of alcohol that prohibit these styles being session beers. Let's now look quickly at how the BJCP see this style. The BJCP characterisation for this style is somewhat updated to the modern interpretation of this beer. It also has to be said that the title Trappist single is somewhat misleading, as Trappist is a modern commercial branding, but never mind. Here are the BJCP notes of this style in condensed form. Aroma: medium low to medium high Belgian yeast character, fruity, spicy along with medium low to medium spicy or floral hops, low to medium low grainy sweet malt backdrop which may have a light honey or sugar quality. Fruit expression can vary widely. Appearance: pale yellow to medium gold colour, usually good clarity with moderate size persistent white head. Flavour: fruity, hoppy, bitter and a bit dry, though this can vary. Initial malty sweet impression with a grainy sweet soft malt palate, hoppy finish. The malt may have a light honeyed biscuit or cracker impression, moderate spicy or floral hop flavour. Mouthfeel: medium light to medium body, smooth, medium high to high carbonation, can be somewhat prickly, no alcohol warmth. The overall impression being a pale, highly attenuated and well carbonated Belgian ale, showing a fruity spicy Belgian yeast character, a spicy floral hop profile and a soft supportive grainy sweet malt palate. I have now put the vital statistics across the bottom of the screen, plus the all-important BU-GU ratio to the middle right. You can go a little lower or higher on this, but I would suggest that you do not push it if it is for competition. This BJCP part is now complete. Many of my viewers told me they like to print out this screen for reference, so go ahead and pause the video now if this includes you before I move on. Don't worry, I also have you covered on water profiles. With this particular style I have many that I can share with you. Here are some water profiles that will assist you with Belgian styles in general. Personally, I rather like the Bruges profile highlighted here with this style, but please do experiment with these and see what fits best for your own taste. Let us now look at recipe writing to this style. The good news is that this is a really simple one, but with lots of room for experimentation for different levels of flavour. In terms of the fermentables, Pilsner Malt always plays a large role in this style, and in many examples is the only malt used. Note that I said fermentables, not just grain bill, because sugar also plays a role in this style at anywhere between 5 up to 20%. The Pilsner Malt is simply providing a canvas for flavour, and the sugar is used to give the beer a boost in alcohol whilst keeping the body of the beer lower. This is one of the brewing tricks of the trade used by both the Belgians and the British in creating beer styles that is classed as easy drinking. This sugar is usually inverted, which creates a level of unfermentable sugar. So unlike when you use table sugar, not all of it will be eaten by your yeast. A simple guide is that if you want to make a dry version, then simply use table sugar. If not, then inverted sugar in the form of light syrups or candy sugar is ideal. As I've already stated, all you need for this style is Pilsner and sugar, but if you wish to adventure further, then the following malts are suggested and commonplace within the style. Before I go through the list, I would suggest caution in having more than one or two of these extra malts in this style, as it will often bring it off base. Let's begin with biscuit malt, which I suggest is used at between 1 to 5% of the fermentables. This malt is the Belgian origin and is suited to Belgian, British and American styles. True to its name, it is biscuit-like, but it also provides a cracker-like taste. Use of this malt also raises the maltiness. Aromatic is another useful malt for this style, and it will bring a malty aroma and flavour. This can be super intense if you are not careful, so between 1 to 5% is again recommended. Vienna malt in sparing amounts is also used in this style, but for me it is a questionable choice, as it will increase the body of the beer, which to my mind goes against the style. But of course it's the choice of the brewer. Vienna will also add malty flavour and aromatics. A final consideration is also crystal malt. Be sure to use this at low colour levels. When used, this will bring a little body and colour as well as head retention. I would suggest this is used at between 1 to 3%, as to not disrupt the beer's final colour. Let us now move on to hops. I have added on screen the most popular varieties for this style. The rule with hops for this style is that they should be noble hops, certainly nothing from the US or New Zealand for example. It is commonplace in this style to add hops at the start of the boil for bittering, and then at 15 minutes, and then either a 5-minute or 0-minute addition for flavour and then aroma. Using 2 different hop types in the recipe is standard, but usually no more. It would be off style to dry hop this one, but if you are not entering competition, then it is something to experiment with to see if you prefer the end beer. That is really all that matters. Just be sure to experience one to style first so you know what the actual difference is. Another area to explore with Belgian styles is the use of extra things to spice things up. Personally, I really enjoy using orange peel, but you can also get further adventurous with things like coriander and seeds of paradise, just to name a couple. Orange peel wise, you can simply peel your own, but if you can get this from your homebrew store in dried form, then try to obtain sweet and bitter types to perform a balance. To my mind, this works best for most people. Alternatively, move in the bitter or sweet only direction if you feel this would best suit your taste. Now let's talk yeast. Yes, Belgian yeast is the way to go here. I have made a couple of suggestions for both dry and liquid yeast here. Perhaps you already have a favourite Belgian yeast, so go with that. It can be one of the high gravity ones also. It's really not going to be a problem. So what about fake for this style? Well, it's not going to be in keeping with the style 100%, but I have to say that I've found some very nice results with Tormore Garden, as it brings that little twist of sourness and citrus to the show that I really like in this style. You could certainly experiment with other fake and see what you think also. This now wraps up this recipe writing section. Feel free to pause the video now if you want to take a screenshot if that is your interest. I will now share my tried and tested recipe with you to this style, along with my most recent brew footage of the recipe. I used the Brewzilla 65 litre system for this brew, and all recipe calculations were made with Brewfather. This shared recipe can be found in this video's description in full, and I also include a link to it in Brewfather. I brewed this recipe to 21 litres or 5.54 US liquid gallons. You can use Brewfather to change the volume to the amount that suits you best, and also the equipment profile depending on what brewing system you're going to use. Here are some of the vital statistics for the brew shown on screen now, and here are some brief details of the recipe on the right hand side. You will note that this recipe has an EBC of just 6, so this is a very lightly coloured beer, and this is shown well in the mash colour, which of course will be diluted further during the sparge. You will also notice that I went with a fairly common fermentable bill here for this style, of 87% Pilsner Malt and 13% clear Candi Sugar. Again, this is a personal choice, make your own. Rather unusual for me, but I used a hop spider within this brew. Not for adding hops to though, oh no. I used it for the Candi Sugar. I think they should rename these to Candi Sugar spiders, as they were much more useful when used this way rather than with hops. If you do use a hop spider with hops, then be sure to use 10% more to account for the losses you would experience. When using a hop spider for sugar, simply load it up to the wort level and check on it from time to time until all the sugar has dissolved. Much better to do it like this in case of bottom plate burning on the grain father or making a false bottom harder to clean on other systems. In regards to the hop additions, I really love the combination here of these hops. Saaz with its distinctive classic aroma and warm herbal character, in combination with Hallertauer Mittelfrueh with its mellow spice and citric tones. And as much as I feel they make something very special together, they are especially good when combined with the flavour from the orange peel. I just love the amazing smell that you get when stirring this peel in. The yeast I show in this recipe is purely for the convenience of other brewers when it comes to availability. If you use the M41 as shown, then it will ferment pretty dry, as you can see in the suspected final gravity here of 1000, or neutral as it is known. Personally, I use Tormore Garden Kveik as I really enjoy the end results of this particular yeast. It brings some extra citrus and very slight sourness to the end beer. Had I used the Belgian yeast, then the effect would have been a light fruitiness with a light clove. Before I finish off this section, I want to tell you that my recipe is marked up to the full 6% ABV of this style when you use this yeast. I do enjoy this recipe at this strength, but I also find it just as good at 5% in fact. So if you decide to brew it, then please make your own choices on this ABV. You can alter the ABV very easily in brewing software, but do remember to tweak the bittering hop down so that you keep the BUGU of the recipe. This ratio is hugely important because otherwise you will off-balance the end beer. I have covered how to do this within the video shown on screen now if you are unsure on how to do this. It is easy when you know how. Here is a look at the resulting beer from this brew. And here is a close-up. So you can see that the end beer is a nice golden colour. For this example, my tasting notes are as follows. Citrus and floral on the nose with a little malt. A small amount of sweetness on entry taste, finishing very smooth with a slight twist of citrus sourness at the end, making it very refreshing. A complex and refreshing flavour signature comprising of citrus, floral and spicy notes with a slightly sweet malt presence. The light body makes this highly drinkable. I worked this version to be just over 5% ABV, but it gives the impression of something much stronger. I hope you all enjoy the results from my recipe or your own made using this guide. To join this channel's Facebook community, then head over to the link shown on screen to apply to join. This is a busy group with thousands of members. Please do note that we have a strict code of conduct to keep the atmosphere mature, friendly and on topic. This now brings this video to a close. If you have any questions, then please let me know via YouTube or Facebook. I do hope that you found this video to be useful, interesting and enjoyable. If appropriate, then please like this video on YouTube, and if you've not done so already, then please subscribe. I regularly post new content. Happy brewing!